Time for a confession session here. So, this is a growth channel. The idea is to grow as a person, first and foremost, but also to grow in fitness. So that is what I'm working on. And so, I have identified what I believe to be my biggest weaknesses, and that is the occasional bout of anger. Now, this is embarrassing to talk about. Embarrassing is maybe not the right word. Am I ashamed of this? For sure. Am I embarrassed about it? Not really. A lot of people struggle with this, and you might be one of them. We all have our things. So, I've considered myself an adult since I was 28 years old. That's late to consider yourself an adult for most people, but that's just the way it worked out for me. That was when I finally kind of turned things around and started focusing on things that matter. Now, there's one hang-up that I have struggled with and continue to struggle with to this day, and that is gamer rage. Yeah, that's what it is. That's pathetic. So there's a competitive game that I enjoy playing, and it is an online game. It's a MOBA, League of Legends. If you're not familiar with the MOBA, that type of game. It's not League of Legends, but it's that type of game. And if things aren't going my way, if I'm losing or getting stomped for like 3 or 4 games in a row, then the rage starts kicking in. Now, the rage just turns into kind of just lots of cursing and yelling, and maybe I'll hit my door frame or something, which is really stupid, and it's really stupid to talk about. But it is a weakness, and so I want to put this out there because I want to improve on that, and I want to fix that. And part of the benefit of doing things like this and just talking about it out loud and putting it out there where people are going to see it is that it helps create some accountability. And if I talk about that throughout this video and share the ways that I think I can work on it, then I think that when those times are happening and rage might be kicking in, that anger might be kicking in, it will help if I come back to this moment and come back to this video and be like, hey, I put it out there, I want to get better, so let's get better. And I really want to get better on this because it's stupid. It's so stupid. It's so childish. It's so immature. It's just one of those things where your emotions get the better of you. Most people have something where that's the case, whether it's traffic or something bad happens at work. Well, for me, if I feel like I suck at something that I don't want to suck at, it makes me angry. So that ties into insecurity and self-doubt and, again, just being emotionally immature in that aspect. So that's what I'll be talking about. I also will be going back to RPE weight training for the strength stuff specifically. I was doing Greg Nuckols' free bench program or free bench, deadlift, and squat program. I just didn't care for it. I had some things happen while I was doing the program. I got sick, but regardless, it's a 1-month program, and I am weaker now than I was when I started, probably about 6-7 weeks ago. And again, that is my fault. It's not necessarily a reflection of the program. I just didn't particularly enjoy the way it was structured and some of the exercises that you have to do in it. So I'm going back to this. This is what I started off this channel doing, and I did make some really, really good progress. And really the only thing I plateaued on was bench press. So we're just going to try and power through that. My previous 1 rep max on bench press was 265, and now my 1 rep max on that, we're about to find out, is probably 255. So like I said, I've lost a little bit of strength. I'm getting it back, baby. So stick around and we'll talk and we'll work out together and we'll try and overcome our childlike behavior together. Okay, here's the new old 1 rep max back on here. This is going to be 255. It's so hard for me when I'm saying that to not feel like a weak ass bitch because there's so many people out there that are warming up with 255 and still have a lot more warming up left to do. But hey, comparison is the thief of joy if you attach negative emotions to it. That's one thing that I like to say, just because it's okay to compare yourself to other people if you're doing it with an open mind and with the willingness to use it as a way to improve, because that's the way you improve, is you do things that people are better than you at and just do that and get better. So that's what we're doing here. Well, that sucks. I think I might try that again. Okay, I don't think I gave myself quite enough rest time before I attempted that. I don't know if I'm going to get that though. I'm going to try it again, but man, it's feeling heavy, and as you saw from that last attempt, I wasn't really even that close. So it would be really unfortunate if I've actually lost 20 pounds on my PR over the last 6 weeks, especially because I have been doing strength-based training. But again, that's kind of my own fault more than it was the program's fault. Some things happened, so oh well. So while I'm resting, let's talk about what I think to be my biggest weakness. And if you're like me, then hopefully this will help you too. But I don't think people think that gamer rage is really that big of a deal, but I disagree. And here is why. I notice a lot of different ways that it affects me. So I am a working husband and father, so the only time that I get to play this game is at night. And at night is when you're the most tired. So it's easier to let loose, and it's easier to lose control of emotions and do all sorts of other things that you probably shouldn't be doing when you're tired. But that is one factor that plays heavily into why I struggle with that sometimes. Now, other factors that happen when I get tired is I tend to eat things that I shouldn't eat. I get more stubborn, so I shouldn't go to sleep as early as I should, because you start thinking about work or the things that you got to do the next day, and it's like, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to keep gaming, or I'm just going to go eat some more, or just stay up too late. So it's like a trickle-down effect. So start tired, things aren't going the way that they should be going, and whatever that means, we shouldn't really have expectations necessarily how things should be going, because things happen. At this point, I should go into that game expecting, or better prepared for losing 4 or 5 games in a row. And it's so funny to talk about this like this, because it really is so stupid. It sounds so stupid to talk about out loud, but I do think it's important because I do want to get over this and move on. Because it can ruin significant portions of my time. And time is the most valuable thing outside of your loved ones to me. Time is the one thing you can't get back. So I'll play out a scenario here of why this is such a big issue in my mind. A little tangent too is it is funny that I do feel like I'm fortunate enough to have a blessed enough life to feel like this is my biggest issue. I don't have to worry about hunger or health problems or anything like that. So I'm very, very thankful for that. So here's the scenario. Put the kid to bed, hang out with the wife for 10, 20 minutes, then I get on with a buddy. Me and my buddy play this game pretty much every day, every night. I'm already tired, like I said. So say we're playing and we lose 3 games in a row. Maybe I'm not super angry, but it's definitely affected me. But we'll talk about the times where it does make me really, really angry. And again, this isn't super often. The only reason why I want to talk about it, or why it was on my mind, is because it is something that happened just a couple days ago. But I get angry. I happen to game in the same room that my wife sleeps in. She's a weirdo. I love her, but she likes me to game in the same room because even though I sometimes wake her up or keep her awake, she likes me being in there, and I like being in there with her. So she's just funny. But I get more animated, so I'm talking louder. I'm being short with my buddy, and fortunately he's very patient with me, and he understands, because sometimes it's something that he struggles with a little bit too. But say, you end the gaming session on a bad note, so you're just, sometimes I'm feeling super angry. Again, not angry enough to like I'm getting violent with anybody, or not in any way that a lot of people on the outside looking in would consider to be serious. It just bothers the hell out of me. But I'll go downstairs, I will just start eating anything in sight, essentially. Unfortunately, my wife and I are pretty good about not keeping things that are too bad around the house, but there are some things that I personally consider not to be very healthy, like there's a lot of bread around the house, and bread is probably my biggest weakness. I love carbs, I love bread. It's a lot harder for me to resist eating a slice of bread than it is for me to resist eating a cookie. That's just the way that I am. So I'll go downstairs, I'll go pound like 5 or 6 slices of bread, which, bread is pretty high in calories. That's pretty easy to consume 600, 700 calories just eating that much bread. And that's not even the only thing I'll go down there and eat. So every night I have some chicken sausage, and I dip it in some avocado, mashed up avocado. It's really, really good. It's healthy fat, healthy protein. But I'll eat that. And then I'll stay up too late because, you know, if you're a gamer, if you ever do anything competitive and you're like me, you want to play until you win. And sometimes that just doesn't happen. So because of that, you play an extra game or two that you shouldn't have played. And by that time, you know, I personally need probably 8.5, 9 hours of sleep a night. I don't get that as often as I should. But playing that extra game means that, you know, you're probably getting more like the 7 to 8 hours of sleep for me personally, as opposed to the 8 to 9 that I really need. And then there are times that, you know, the anger, because you're still tired the next day because you didn't get enough sleep, and it carries over to the next day, and then I'm just angry at work, and I come home angry. You know, obviously it's fallen off a little bit. It's not like right after it happens type angry. But yeah, it just negatively affects all aspects of my life. My sleep, my health, my food, my overall positivity, whether or not I'm fun to be around for my girls. So it's just that trickle effect that I just want to get rid of. Like, it's stupid. It is unbelievably stupid that something like that would affect me as much as it does. But I've always been really, really competitive. It's always been pretty important to me to be good at the things that I do. And like I mentioned earlier, it does somewhat tie back into insecurity too. Just like, you know, a big part of how I grew up, I was Mormon and homeschooled. So that's enough of a picture right there to kind of tell you what my circle would have been like. But I was a little bit of a big fish in a small pond. You know, I was taller and more athletic than pretty much everyone I was associating with. So if there was a physical or sport activity or something, I was pretty naturally good at it most of the time. And that did kind of apply to video games as well. So, you know, I think I did kind of craft this identity for myself about it being important to be good, or at least better than other people at things, which is really stupid again and egotistical and childish, but that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm talking about in this video, is trying to get over that, and it just all ties in. The competitive selfishness in me, I was the kind of guy that I would rather go play for a small team and be the best player on that team, basketball for example, just because that was the sport I loved the most growing up. I'd rather be the best player on a small team and maybe even like a less average team than go be a role player that's not getting much time on a really, really good team. Part of it is just because I like to play. You know, I'd rather play than watch, and I've never been good enough to where it's like I'm going to compete for anything with money on the line or with a college Division I national championship on the line. It's just been all small town stuff, small fry stuff. So if I'm going to do that, why wouldn't I just go somewhere where I can, you know, play 30 minutes a game instead of 15? It's just more fun. But the egotistical side of it is definitely getting the more praise. You know, the defense focuses on you. The fans get more opportunities to cheer for shots that you made, just things like that. So it's that feeding the ego that's always been a vulnerability of mine because of how much I let it affect me. And that aspect of it is still something I definitely struggle with, because the times where I start getting angry in the game aren't even the times necessarily where my team is losing over and over again. It's the times where I feel like I'm playing poorly and my teams are losing. If I feel like I'm playing well and we're losing, then it doesn't affect me nearly as much as if I'm not. So lots of things that I've identified here that I need to work on. And again, it's shameful. It really is. I'm not embarrassed enough. I'm not embarrassed to talk about it because I do think it is a common issue, but to feel that when it's so low on the priority list for that to be anywhere near being good at in my life, and to have it affect me that strongly is it's pretty pathetic. It is. Okay, I think that rant was long enough of a rest for me, and if I take too much longer, I probably will start cooling down, which I don't want to do. I don't want to get injured. So here we go, attempt number 2 at 255. Not feeling confident, but we're going for it anyway. Oh shit. I was starting to get a hip cramp. I don't want to do that mid-lift. Well, that sucks. I've gotten significantly weaker, I would say. Well, how special for you. You got to see the roll of shame twice in one video. I'm just putting all the shame out there. I'm putting my emotional shame, I'm putting my strength shame out there. You know, I'll try and think of something else that I can come out of the closet with for you. Okay, so RPE training here. I am doing about 80% of that 1 rep max of 245. I'm gonna do 3 sets, about 4 or 5 reps on each of those. I think one thing that has contributed to a little bit of the strength loss has been a bit of a form correction. I think obviously it will help in the long run, but I definitely did have a little bit more of a narrower grip originally when I was doing bench press, which caused my elbows to flare. And anytime you watch powerlifters or listen to them talk about technique, you want to make sure that your elbows and your wrists are stacked so that they, you're not going too far out with the elbows or too far out with the wrists like that, so it helps generate more power. So I've gone a little bit wider on the grip, and I did notice a little bit of a strength fall off on that. So these are going to be RPE of about a 6 or 7, just trying to focus on form and building strength. I did 5 reps. I probably should have only done 4. The RPE creeped up to probably an 8 or 9 on that last one, but we'll course correct. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so at this point I have greatly outlined the problem and the ways that it affected me. So here are some things that I think I can do to be able to greatly improve that. And it's funny, a couple years ago I was convinced that I could just get past it, that my mental willpower can just overcome it. Well, that didn't work, that failed. And then I kind of accepted it. It's like, oh, this is just who I am and I have to accept it and either stop playing the game or play something else, both of which I have done. But I've come back to it, and I just want to not have that affect me anymore, because I logically and emotionally outside of the moment can analyze that and realize how absolutely stupid it is. So why not just fix it? If it's so stupid, let's fix it. So first thing is I am talking about it. I am saying this out loud with the intention of other people watching this and being able to judge me for the moron that I am. And I say that in jest. I don't think I'm a moron or anything like that. It's just funny to put out there, and you might think that I'm a moron, which is fine. Comment down below and let me know. So step 1, put it out there. Hold myself accountable and remember this in those moments where I feel like I'm starting to feel that anger and frustration creep up on me, and reset it. Maybe step away if I need to. Those are both good options. Okay, I'm pretty sure my recording stopped during my last set, but that was the last set of the 3 sets of 45 reps. So now I am moving on to about 80% of the 1 rep max here, going for 8 reps, 2 sets, looking for an RPE of 8 or 9 while doing this. Six, 7, 8. So something else I'm going to start doing to help get past this issue is, before I start playing, I will take the time to kind of look at my mental state, look at my fatigue, look at how I'm feeling, and just assess that. So essentially it's just meditating, which is really, again, really weird to say when talking about this subject, but just kind of making sure that you're aware of how you're feeling and how things are going, and that you're very, very aware of it. Because again, with this, the big reason why I get so emotionally invested, I think too, is because I tune out so much. Most of the time in my life when I'm doing things, there's kind of that eye in the sky view where you're just kind of watching yourself. I feel like I'm pretty good at that, but not while I am gaming. I am zoned in and zoned out of here, which is not a good thing. So I just need to try and be more aware of that. So just kind of reset before I even start. Just go to a baseline, remember that the only expectation is to have a good time and just try and get a little bit better, and whatever happens, happens. Because again, I'm not trying to go pro. I'm not good enough to go pro. It's such a small game where the pro scene isn't even something that you can do full time anyway. It's just, you know, there's actually a tournament going on right now. The final prize is $30,000 split like 5 or 6 ways. So it's not like, again, I'm not good enough to do it. I don't even know why I talked about all that. But again, I don't need to take it so seriously. It's just to have fun and just try and do as well as I can do. Final set of the workout here. Again, I don't really want to go into a 10 RPE, so if I can only get 6 or 7 reps of this, that's what I'll do. Another form correction I'm trying to make on these bench presses. I notice lots of times I have a tendency to either, you know, kind of get out of line this way, or even a little bit this way, to where I'm kind of favoring one side over the other. I notice it the most when I'm coming out of the top. Instead of being stable on the bench, I can get a little rickety. So I think ultimately I know ultimately these form corrections will benefit my strength, because that's just natural law at this point with any athletic activity or endeavor. Fundamentals carry you further than anything else. That's it for the workouts. I'm just doing bench only today. I think I might start incorporating bro split workouts. I have never done those before. I've always just done like push-pull or upper body, lower body type workouts, or total body workouts. But the thought of just coming in and knocking out one muscle group a day sounds pretty good to me. So I think I might start doing that. Or maybe, you know, 2 muscle groups. Now, the last thing that I want to do to try and improve on the situation I've talked about is something that works really well for me personally. So there could be something that you just have to identify within yourself that you can apply to something that you want to work on to improve on. What that is for me is to view it as a challenge, or just like a workout. The days where I'm working, I have an outside job that can be somewhat physically demanding sometimes, and the days where I feel like I'm complaining a lot internally and I feel really, really tired, something that helps me get through those days is to look at it as a workout. You know, it's a physical challenge. If I'm feeling weak, you know, just push through it, because you have to push through it. So that's what I'm going to apply to this. If I start recognizing that I am getting angry or frustrated, then I need to view it as a mental workout. Because that just flips a switch in my mind. It creates something that's a negative feeling and outlook into a positive one and a positive challenge. So those are the 3 main things that I have identified that I want to do to work on this problem, so that I can get rid of it, so I can just, again, improve all areas of my life where it negatively affects me. But that's all I got for you today. I really appreciate you sticking around this long, or clicking on this if you did. And I hope you tune back again next time to my show. This is my show. That's what YouTube channel is. It's just TV. So thanks for watching my super entertaining and highly expensive show. See you.